no time to say goodbye. Hello, I'm leaving.
Serve the public trust, protect the innocent, uphold the law.
Reveal the world. Lego!
Okay, and we are live. Wow. I want to hear Matthew's impression, from that, but thanks everybody for joining. We are being joined by people, again, we're fashionably late. Apologies for that. I cannot blame the guests that we have from Europe. But as T. Matthew Phillips, my wonderful co-host all the way from Nevada, said, our show is going international. So, Thijs, thank you so much. I know it's late on your side. You're in Netherlands, right, in Europe, and you're our first ever guest on our show, coming all the way from another continent. So it's amazing. Thank you for staying late. I appreciate your time. The clip that we just started with is yours. We just learned that you went actually to art school. But without further ado, please, tell us in the audience a couple of words about yourself.
I went to art school and I did work at festivals and that's fun. And then I met the mother of my child and she gave birth. And the 4 days after, I was kicked out of house. And ever since, I tried to counter all lies about mental illnesses I should have, because she said so. She made believe I was completely insane and a danger for everyone. And now after 7 years, it is. I got custody. It took me 7 times to court, and but I see him only 48 hours in the 2 weeks. And he's now his behavior is going out of control when he's with his mom, and that makes that's a lot of work to because the system makes, they don't give me a role, they keep on pushing him, and I have to watch how he is buried in the theories and options, and each day he has to suffer those people telling him he has a problem, but the problem is not that he is it, but his mom.
Yeah, so maybe before we go deeper into your case, I think that what's most interesting for the audience we have is the fact that you and I actually got to know each other through Facebook, right?
Yeah.
And I saw that you are very active. I think you are primarily on Twitter, so your handle is there for people who will want to find you eventually. But that's exactly what the social media platforms are supposed to do, right? They're supposed to connect victims of court, government, from across the world.
Yeah.
And that's how we connected. and I heard your story, you know, to some extent. So, I think what's very interesting is your experience with the European courts. In particular, I think you mentioned in one of the conversations that we had your experience with the European Court of Human Rights, right? I might be.
I haven't been to the European Court, but I have visited the International Criminal Court twice, and I talked there to the deputy prosecutor, and just my name is there. They know me because indeed I'm ever since I was kicked out very involved, and I had at a certain point about 200k views a day, but then got suspended from LinkedIn and got shadow bans everywhere. So now I'm trying to rebuild it, but that's almost impossible. So we did connect, but it's hard to stay in touch because I lost a lot. I lost about 12.5k connections on LinkedIn on each continent, all about the same subject, our children.
Right. So I want to leave, of course, you know, the stage to Matthew as well. But it sounds like, you know, again from our prior conversations, that the same topics that we are facing here as fathers in the United States, and we'll have guests actually from other countries. I keep advertising that, but the father from New Zealand agreed to come on the show. The father from Canada agreed to come on the show, and I think that's one of the key roles that we as advocates, you know, for the children, right, as active people in this fight, need to tell people, right, and present. And you are here on the screen with us, which is very, very important. What we are facing is international, the same issues of parental alienation, of discrimination in court, right, violations of fundamental human rights, whether they're enshrined in the Constitution or in charters, you know, in countries like Canada, right, or international treaties that form the International Criminal Court. These are the same issues. Matthew, you have any comment or question for our esteemed guest here?
Yes, I would. Remember, there's two lawyers here ganging up on you. So, well, I would like to ask our guests, and first of all, thank you so much for being with us. I really think it's important that the audience understands that this is a global problem. I just believe that society, from what I've come to learn, whether it's United States, Canada, England, New Zealand, and Australia, you know, where they speak English, they have these family court problems, and they're really, they take away children far too lightly. They take away the children without a good reason. They take away children despite the fact that a parent has never caused any harm to the child, you know, and I find that troubling. And but I think it's important our viewers know that this is a worldwide phenomenon. And so thank you for being with us.
You know, you have to
and
stick
if I
together.
could ask you some questions. Yes,
Yeah,
we do
yeah.
have to stick together. I'm sorry. If I could politely ask, what was the reason they gave you for when they took away your custody? What was the reason they gave you for taking away custody?
They didn't take it away. It's in the Netherlands. If you are not married, only the mother gets custody, and she got to decide if the father is granted custody also. And if she doesn't want to, you have to go to court. So we were not married, so I had to go to court 7 times to earn it, to make all the lies disappear. But they still are in my file, so each time they pop up again.
And how are the courts? Can you maybe say a few words about the courts? Do you have a jury trial in Netherlands or anywhere in Europe?
No, we don't have jury trial, and it's the family law is a special section and behind closed doors, so they can do anything they want and they do it. it's just theater, plain theater. And I've been each time they made major mistakes, so each ruling shouldn't be isn't worth anything. But there's no one who intervenes. They all know because I tell them. I never got there's always someone writing all words down that were spoken there, and I never got the transcript, never. But you are allowed to have this. You need to have the transcript to understand the ruling. So, and I never got one. So, I never had a fair trial. It wasn't a trial. It was a show.
It's very similar in the United States. You know, some courts are better, but the courts are basically not accessible to the public. And of course, you know, it's you're not allowed to have an independent recording, right? And even if they have transcripts, it takes you need to move mountains to obtain them and pay money for that.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, exactly. And then they don't match my secretly made recordings. So and then how can you? It's you keep on being busy with trying to find someone who takes responsibility, because each civil servant has in its contract the obligation, if they know about the crime, they have to go to the police to make a report of it. And what's happening is, by definition of the United Nations, genocide, because they forcibly transfer children from a group to another group and break the contact between parents. And it's horrible to see that they all over the world, everyone is shouting about genocide, but it's in our own country accepted as being a fact of life. And if you try to resist, then you get into trouble. You have to go to therapy to learn to accept you don't have the right to see your own child. That's the only option they give you, or you will be punished if you do something else.
Yeah.
How do they, if I could ask, how do they punish you? How do they punish you?
By all the systems. I was kicked out of house. I got a place somewhere else. It was a pretty long ride. I didn't have the money to pay for it. So I asked for some support to keep in touch. I didn't get that, but then I was offered the option to. I was offered an option. It's more easy to say like that. But then they, when I make good use of it, they changed this in the administration, and then all of a sudden said I was a fraud. So just by this action, I became a huge debt. I got a huge debt, and now my income is how do you say it? They take as much as they can.
It sounds like the system here, you know, in the United States, and that's not a topic we might develop, because the United States is unique because we have the federal structure here. You have the state level, you also have the federal level, right? And the federal level provides incentives to the state level to get as much child support as possible. It's called the Title 4D of Social Security Act, the audience knows. And basically every dollar that is taken from the paying parent, usually, of course, the father, is matched by the federal government, and that creates the incentive always to create somebody who is custodial and somebody who is not custodial, right? And then you, if you start fighting the system, you enter essentially a death spiral, right? Because you run out of money, you cannot be represented, you run behind the patients, and you lose your job because you need to attend all these hearings.
And then you have to check all the time. I found after about 3 years out that in the administration, no one put my son's name on my file. So I was on paper, I wasn't even his father. Even though I went to the how do we say, town hall to make a notice he was born and registered all, but they just made it disappear somehow. I don't know why, but I know why. Because if I am not his father on paper, then they only have a mother left, so then it's more easy.
Yeah, you have no money, you have no income, you have no ability to sustain yourself. You cannot fight the system. So that's the goal, right? And that's the goal overall, to impoverish us all, right? So you'll eat bugs and you'll be happy, right? You'll eat the insects. So maybe I kind of cut you off. You had other questions in mind?
Yes, I did actually. I was kind of curious for our guest here, Thijs. Am I saying that Thijs?
Yeah, that's
correct. Okay.
Yeah.
Just like Thijs van Leer, right?
Yeah.
Do you believe, this is I guess a personal question, do you believe that the government is trying to control the children? The government, do you believe they're trying to be the parent? And if so, why do you think they're doing it?
It's a game of divide and conquer. If you, I use often the term all-inclusive exclusion. If you make people all part of minorities, you can choose which minority will be attacked or provoked, and that's how they play it out. And there's, you were talking about, there are lots of dads having this problem, and that's, but they use also if you have those lists with red flags, and if there is a trans racial relation, that's a red flag. And if you get 4 red flags, that's reason to take a child. So it's basically racism. If you are with someone with color, then you are a danger, because someone of color it can't be a good dad.
Basically, they need
what are the
that's like important.
Well, no, I was going to say in Netherlands, what is the reasons for which they can take away a kid? For example, if a man punches a woman in the nose, can they take away the kid for domestic violence? And what are the common reasons that they take away the children?
Yeah, it often it's reasons like that, but those are like when you go to the hairdresser, you gossip, and it's based on gossips. Fact finding doesn't count. It's about the feeling, the gut feeling of the professionals. And they intervene. I know a story about a woman, and she was her house was being how do you say it, repaired, and there was some dust underneath her nose. from the work in the house, and the social worker wrote down she had cocaine. Take her child. And then this woman wanted to enter a test in her file, proving she didn't use, but she wasn't allowed.
Wow.
So, and then her child was taken, and then you are not allowed to see your kid for about 6 weeks. Then you go to court, and then the game of accusation starts. And you never, the facts, and there are no facts, and no one checks. And they all act like they are experts, but they don't know shit. They just do like, sorry, but then I was talking about a movie about Auschwitz, but it's a system. It's a system. In the Netherlands, is in Denmark, and on the same amount of people, are 4 children placed out of home. Then in the Netherlands, 450. It's like we developed this system and we are exporting it now all over the world. Nancy Shaver was here in 2009, and she talked about the corrupt business of child protective services. And she made very, very clear it's a tool for government to control the people by abusing their children.
Yeah. So that again, that's something that we need to emphasize throughout your work, your public work, our public work, right? That it's the same everywhere. So you mentioned CPS and child protection services. I think it's a very valuable topic to maybe briefly touch upon. But we have some sort of or maybe great deal of overlap between the audiences, right? So at least what I see on my page, Facebook page, and my work, YouTube work, is that we have the victims of the family court, right? The fathers and mothers. But you also have all these cases where the government directly intervenes, not using one parent against each other. They come and they extract the children. And from what I heard and what I see is that in Europe, that problem is particularly egregious, right? CPS is out of control. It's out of control everywhere. But the stories that I hear from Europe are completely horrendous, right? There was a story that I heard of a child coming maybe from another culture, on children, right? So a child was observed by some stranger taking a piece of food with the hand, and that was enough to remove the right?
Mr. Ketterje. That's a Norwegian story. And maybe you were referring to the European court because of that, the Strandlobben case, where victims of the Norwegian CPS did win their case, and this was labeled as human trafficking. And ever since, there is no option to enter new cases at the European Court who are completely similar, but far outnumber the cases in Norway. It's I know about. I heard there were 927 or something files sent to the European Court in 4 years, and only 4 were admitted. The rest was just rejected because it's so difficult to even file it. They make it all impossible, and it's like you're in a game and you never gonna win. They only keep giving you false hopes, illusions, and each time and it's even that bad that we were talking about the punishment. It's also each time my son has his birthday, then I get notice of something really bad. So because they know I am already in a feeling sad, and then they hope I will explode. And if not then at the birthday of my father, or my exactly on the day.
Provocation. It's a very common tactic by the government. They provoke us all. Yes, they
Exactly.
want us to.
But and you have to find out how they do it, and then you find out also when they do it, and then you know when you hurt them, and they feel exposed. I think it was yesterday or the day before. I posted a tweet, and within a minute, my account was on lock, and I had to take all kinds of actions to change it. And the time before, I when it all seemed to be normal again, I saw that tweets with 50,000 views then only had 2 views left. They changed all counters. So I disappear from the algorithm, and then they complain about that people being on TikTok and try to shut it down, and being on Twitter, and because then we connect, and they are scared for us to connect.
We need to be on every platform. We need to be everywhere. So I think you developed your platform on Twitter. I am backing up all my videos on YouTube, and I started Instagram recently. But we have to be on every platform, because that's how we get your message. And yeah.
TikTok is also very good, because if you really have good content, then it spreads like in very short notice. And
yeah, it's actually a good segue into another aspect. Matthew, please, chime in. But I also had a couple questions in mind that I prepared. You mentioned something, and I truly believe in that as well, that we all need to be also public, beyond, of course, spreading the message and helping other people. I put a post out from a father who literally thanked me, and it touches my heart. I was almost, emotional, or not almost emotional about that. He said that my posts help him go through his toughest days. And because, if you are alone, you're isolated, the government tries to isolate you, and they suddenly see that somebody is there experiencing the same things, right? Goes through the same insanity in court, complete violation of your rights. You thought that you are somebody, you come to court, they treat you worse than the criminal, right? So beyond all that, but it also protects us. And that's a lesson that I, as somebody who was born in the Soviet Union, learned from Soviet literature and from Soviet dissidents, because we are facing the same type of tyranny. I think America is going through a Bolshevik color revolution, just doing very, very slowly, right? Mm-hmm. So Solzhenitsyn and all these people, how they survive this insanity, they survive by being public. And I think you can agree to that, right? That's your approach as well?
Yeah, it's my only safety. I when I go to the police, they refuse me because I'm trouble, and so I have to trick them. I had once I had to file something there, and I made an appointment, and then got a call that this appointment was removed, and then I made a new appointment because I said to this woman, yeah, I don't know. I got a call. They lost this appointment. Can you arrange a new one? And it took me about 3 days just to go there and tell my story. And that's also one of the things that they make it all impossible. And if you go there, that they write it down wrong, and you have to go over it again, and it's a never-ending story. It's just
Europe is actually even smaller to some extent, right? And it doesn't have that tradition that still, I think, sustains America of First Amendment and constitutional rights. At least rhetorically, people still refer to that, right? In Europe,
yes, but on that part, our system is also, we don't have a constitutional court. So if a law is created, the only ones who are allowed to check if it's in line with the basic laws and all treaties are the politicians. And if it's not in line, a judge is not allowed to check if what he's ruling is in line with the law.
So I think
Can you
that
understand?
yeah, this is the Marbury versus Madison moment, right, Matthew? That's a staple of American jurisprudence, right? That the
Yes.
law reports into the Constitution. Mm.
Judicial
And those-
review.
Yes.
Yeah, but it's also it's so funny that the Dutch are always pointing at Poland and Hungary and because it's horrible the rule of law is judges are corrupted and everything. The most corrupt people are those who are always pointing at the others, always blaming the others. So no one sees how bad they are themselves.
Mm. Good point.
Yeah.
And
So
the Dutch are, for example, in The Hague, court ruled children could be denied fresh drinking water if their parents are in debt. How on earth can you rule that in the international city of peace and justice, where the International Criminal Court is, because it's not in line with the Universal Declaration of Human Rights? A child always has the right on fresh drinking water, but in The Hague, not. In the Netherlands, no. And that's a reason for CPS to get your child. So you get into debt, you can't pay your bills, your water will be closed, and your child will be taken. That's the system. You don't have to hit anyone. Just get a debt, so then it's over.
it's a very clever system of plausible deniability, and they use it, of course, everywhere because they try to hide the real intent. And the real intent is to take the children, ruin the children, let the government raise the children, right, and discourage this whole procreation, right? So
Yeah.
Europe, it sounds like Europe is particularly egregious in that sense because it's a land, at least from the known history that we are taught, it's a land that nobility, aristocracy is very much part of the culture. I don't know how much it's cultural Marxism more than culture, right? It's in the U.S. I think there's a sense of it's repulsive, at least to the American ethos, right? This whole concept of nobility, and America revolted against the crown, against the king at the time. Europe, it very much still exists, right? You have the monarchs that are revered or at least covered extensively. So, and what we are seeing, at least according to many commentators, is a new neo-feudalism, right? So they try to reestablish society of serfs, masters, and slaves. So I think what you are describing is very much in line with that. Would you agree?
Yeah. It's a modern slavery. It's a kind of apartheid, but under another name, and they sell it as it is care, but it's just not care. I used also the hashtag Scarface style child protective services because it's mafia style repression, and even our tax authority is participating. So
we're basically just another arm of the government. We're being joined by the audience. Yeah, Chris Woods is saying from Target, I assume. So thanks everyone for watching and chiming in. Please ask questions. We have an attorney from California / Nevada, which is a rare treat. An excellent attorney. By the way, maybe we should talk about a couple of your cases, right? There was Jason D'Souza who was on the show. I think you helped him. He made the post, and I reposted it. So
Yes, you know, I wanted to, if I could ask the guest a question. I'm losing my voice again here, but
Mm.
one thing I was wondering is the family court in the Netherlands.
Mm.
Does the family court have to follow the Universal Declaration of Human Rights?
Yeah, the Dutch signed for it, and they even call themselves Gidsland, leading as a guide for the rest of the world on human rights. And our but that's the strange thing. It's all. I recently Karim Khan, the prosecutor of the criminal court, stated children were effectively sidelined from the traditional process. And that's a breakthrough, because we can argue about male, female, whatever, but it is always about the child. And somehow the rights of the child are inferior, but they need this protection. And somehow those people in CPS and all those professionals make their belief more important than the law. So they silence the kids. So they do completely the opposite of what they tell us. They do. And that's why I also always twisted going Dutch. Everything is from government, and you have to share it. Like the farmers have to give up their heritage, and the people in Groningen, all the systems are the same. We have people in power, and they don't give a damn about.
Yeah.
they design all that. The people in power, they want the system. It's a. I have an issue with the people who say the system is broken. It's not broken. It's working exactly as designed, and that is what is
Exactly.
Yeah.
And you have to be able to, if everybody is looking now at Tucker Carlson, because he had this interview with Putin. Why is everybody looking there, and what's behind us? Because all these things happen just to make us not aware of what's going on behind our backs. And
Yeah,
that's we have to understand that each time when something hits the news, there is a reason it hits the news. They created the news.
the world events are not random. They are
No. It's all is about polarization, about fear, about because when people are frightened, they only have three reactions: fight, freeze, or flight. And then you can do anything with the people. Just push the button, make them angry about this, or give them hope with that, or disappoint them with that, or and it goes on and on, and somehow, because we start to connect, they have to create more flashpoints and make it worse.
divide and conquer. That's always has been the strategy of the rulers, right? We are not united. We cannot see the commonalities. It's very easy to take us all down.
And that's also we make use of those socials, but they are also used against us, because we don't have the means and all possibilities the system has. They keep on pushing up new things to make us lose the oversight, the helicopter view. So we only ask, oh no, just past my house, go to the neighbors, and that's almost like we are living in the dictatorship we are made afraid of. We are living in it.
Absolutely right.
It's the Truman Show Groundhog Day matrix. Each day, again and again and again. And why do people trust it when some politicians say something? Because they say just these words just to keep their seat, to be in the corner, the more equal animals, to be part of the more equal animals on the farm.
I have another thought about that. You know, the politicians, right? Like, people know politicians are corrupt. If you ask the person on the street, right, I think the common view is that an average politician, if there's any such thing, is corrupt, right? No, they lie. They do whatever they can in order to stay in seat, right? But then laws made by Parliament, by Congress, by Senate, state Senate, you know, high-level Senate. Oh, these laws, you know, are probably just and driven by honest incentives, right? So it makes no sense. You know that individuals are corrupt, but then the product is not corrupt. And the same thing can be said about the judges, right? So who are judges? Judges are former attorneys. No offense, Mr. Phillips, and no offense to myself in my prior life. But then, you know, if a slimy lawyer becomes a judge, suddenly they're elevated to an angel level. Like, it makes no sense, right? Nothing changed. They only have, you know, another type of attire. So anyway,
they even in their career as a lawyer, they you know when a lawyer is aiming to become a judge, almost.
Yes. Yeah.
And you can see it by the way they defend or not defend you.
Yeah, Chris is saying we like audience participation here, so thank you very much, Chris and John and Minion Mom. We have some new faces names. Brad, I'll pull your comment immediately. So Chris is saying they brainwash people to have no shame about being completely stupid. Idiocracy, right? There was another famous movie. They actually tell us everything in the movies. It's out there in the open. Something in their own, you know, secret code of laws requires them to tell us the truth, and if people just don't get it, they don't get it, you know. So they get rid of the karma or something like that. Yeah. Brad is saying our families and our countries are under attack by our own tyrannical governments. That's absolutely right. This is what it is. I believe another civil war will happen sooner than later. I think they try to incite civil war. Before we go into that interesting topic, Matthew, if you allow me, there's one other question that actually, you know, is on my mind. And since we have a guest here from Europe, so, you know, I see a growing movement, or at least, you know, idea here and among the victims of the court in the United States, that what we need is to file grievances to bring them in front of international institutions like ICC that we mentioned, the International Court, Criminal Court, right, or maybe the European Court of Human Rights, and try to involve, you know, UN, UNESCO, you know, you name it, you name it, all this. I personally, I think it's laughable because, you know, it's all coordinated at that level exactly. It's just another sham, another facade, you know, another mockery. But maybe your experience is different. So are Americans who think that if they go to International Court of Human Rights or International Criminal Court will get justice, are they naive, or maybe there's merit to that? What's your opinion?
I think with the statement Karim Khan made on the 12th, he went in a do or die, and when he came there, there was corruption, and he got his position to get rid of it, and his statement did surprise me and gave me hope, and I think we need to have an institution that can rule over human rights over the world. So we have you have to keep that. But if you know, I was talking about this ruling about water, and shortly after, the Dutch Justice Department got an extra of 155 million euros for a year. That's the total budget of the International Criminal Court. So it's impossible for them to small cases. So we have to make it big. They are only busy with getting more money, but they can't get funding from rich people because then there's this they can be bored. So but 155 million for the highest organ there is to make justice really work. It's how much money it went to Ukraine. It should be the other way. The court should have that amount of money, and then there most probably won't be war. But all systems are made to make it look like there is some kind of rule of law, but there isn't. There isn't. It's a game.
I agree. That's one of the key deceptions. The rule of law. In fact, there's no law. It's not a deception, right? It's a fundamental deception. It's a psyop. And why it's a psyop, right? It's the goal is to make the public that's not engaged in court, to think that they have rights and the government has boundaries, which is not correct in either case, right? They still do whatever they want, and we still have the right. Yeah.
When you get out. When you are born, you get a number, and that's your slave number. That's what it is. It's not the social security. It's no security. Yeah, you can be sure government will get your money and your freedom and your rights, and then you can ask. You can do anything you want, but you won't get through because the systems are designed to make you disappear in paperwork and nothing but paperwork. But it's not about paper, it's about just being human. It's a system, a dehumanizing system. You become a number, and the case, and you're in a box, and that's it. Now in a computer, and then those computers, they are dangerous because when they can, I know they listen in. I know they trace all emails I send. They all track it, and I can prove it. But no one wants to see, because if they accept this as a fact, they have to accept our world is corrupt, and they can't cope with the fact that our complete world is just an illusion, that we are in this Truman Show.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, across the world. That's very interesting. So that's why it's so valuable to have your perspective. Matthew, I have so many questions, so I don't want to intervene. But just since Thijs, you interact with other activists from all over Europe, and you mentioned Norway, you mentioned the Netherlands. We of course, Matthew and I, we see people from UK, Ireland, English-speaking countries, as Matthew may refer to in the beginning of the show. But what about other countries? Like, what's your experience with other? Is it the same everywhere?
Yeah, it's a network. It's like they all match it up and make and the we had the only chance you have is to flee with your child via Poland to somewhere where where there's no phone and there's no internet. That's the only way. There's a couple. They had a son, and he was taken, and it went wrong. And then they got their son. At some moment they were allowed to go for a walk, and they threw him in the car and they drove off and went to Poland. And the judge ruled they wouldn't extradite this family to the Netherlands because the Netherlands were barbaric and inhumane. That was the ruling.
I heard about this case. It's amazing. So,
But the Polish judges, those
Wow.
corrupt judges. Now maybe you understand better why we must believe the Polish judges are corrupt, because they ruled against the Dutch game. It's just like Niels Melzer was a special rapporteur torture, and he mentioned police violence during the COVID demonstrations. And he called for evidence to make a complaint. And a week later, he resigned as special rapporteur torture instead of making this complaint. So, did the Dutch make him leave because they don't want people to know how corrupt it is, and they only can do it by canceling people and make him leave? That's how it works. That's how it works with parents and children, but also on that level. It's the same system.
yeah, so that's fascinating. The court in Poland ruled that the court in Netherlands essentially shows that the country is barbaric and corrupt, right? Yeah.
Yeah. And then Dutch childcare went about 6-7 times again to Poland and lost each case again against this family. And now they are in, I believe, Australia or something. And now CPS is going there to do it again. But now this kid, he's happy now, their son, and he's learning and he's making progress, and in his institution he was just sitting in his room, denied school, denied therapy, denied everything, because the more broken the child, the more they can earn. If a child wets its bed, you get a bonus because it wets its bed. When it stutters, another one. You can go on and on. And and we had this child benefit scandal. The people got benefits and then made a mistake, or eventually was found out they were found guilty by a racist algorithm. So they had to pay fines. They couldn't pay these fines, so they took their children, about 95,000. And there was this case in the United States with the immigrants, and the children were separated. And there was an article in the newspaper. There were 545 children in the United States not reunited with their parents. Those illegal immigrants. In the Netherlands, those 95,000 children that were separated, after about 3-4 years, only 27 were reunited with their parents. If you know that in a community with about 60,000 inhabitants, there are 30 family homes and 125 foster families. the complete market of housing will the mortgage market will collapse if children are sent home. They can't send them home. It's so the banks are involved, the police is involved, the judges are involved, and if one of those players gets out, our economy collapses. It's a market.
Yeah, it's perverse incentive, and again, go back to a topic that I feel it's important to mention to the scripture, right? Money corrupts, and government uses money in order to corrupt and completely subvert, right? Reverse the systems. It's black turns to white, white turns to black. Yeah, Thijs, we have a rule here that we try to keep the show under an hour. Matthew is very polite. He lets me speak. I brought the guest, but Matthew, I see that you are taking notes.
Oh, it's a fantastic show. I just wanted to say that, money corrupts, and that's true. Money corrupts, but judicial immunity corrupts absolutely.
Exactly.
Better
Exactly.
throw that out.
The more equal animals. They decide for themselves they are because they have the money to make it like that.
Yeah,
Can I
say it's amazing? Oh, I'm sorry. No, I was going to say that's for the viewers at home. That's from Animal Farm, where some animals are more equal than others. And I guess it goes to show you how universal that book truly is. I just thought that was I totally got you.
Yeah, and then you have to connect it with 1984. Big Brother is watching you, and then the social credit system, which will be in our civilized society to make us comply to being an actor in a show.
Yeah.
It's pretty amazing to find a person from another land, another continent, right, and thinking the same way, understanding the same things. It just shows that what we are facing is truly worldwide. Yeah,
It's a network. I was thinking about those networks, and then all of a sudden it was about tunnels and everything, and we have the Talpa network, and Talpa network is because the owner, its last name is Mol. It's Talpa, but he did produce Big Brother, and that's a show that went all over the world, and now it is our reality, so that we are prepared to live like in Big Brother. That's why everybody is making. If you go into town and there are lots of bikes, and everyone has its own spot. That's its own. No one sees somebody else on the street because they're too busy being important on internet. So it's connecting, but it's also disconnecting, and that's we have to somehow make clear. We have to really connect as humans,
Yes.
because we get by algorithm only those things that frighten us, because that works, that makes them earn, and that makes their power grow, because then people are scared.
Yeah, John is saying Animal Farm is played out in every day in our courts. We have no worth in their eyes. That's a common experience. Yeah, we have good participation. The episode will be shared. Usually we get hundreds of views. Well, eventually we get thousands of views. So that's pretty good, and I think it's very important to have the European perspective. I have another thought. And it's a shameless plug, because I got finally some good news from one of my cases. Unfortunately, I'm dragging to that for years now. I have 2 pending federal cases, and one of my federal cases that I filed against the judge who torments me and my children, Janet McFarland, from Richmond/Reichmond County Family Court here, family cohort, and I filed a lawsuit against her and her court guard, Lovanko. So she was shielded by judicial immunity. She was removed, and I appealed that. There's a pending appeal in the Second Circuit here in federal court, also in New York. But I got a decision from the recent decision, basically from yesterday, if I'm not mistaken, because the order was issued, a summons, that my case against the court guard, Lovanko, in McFarland's courtroom, is allowed to proceed. That's a very significant development because a judge, a federal judge, reviewed the case. I assume it moves into pretrial stage. So it says, the order says it's moving to pretrial stage. I assume the government will try to file a motion to dismiss, but I don't expect it to be successful since it has been already reviewed by a federal judge. And what are the claims? If they wanted to dismiss it, they would dismiss it. So it's meritorious, and it's moving potentially to, well, not potentially, it's moving to a federal jury trial. So in some, and that's after years of fighting, right, and exposing it all, and very public.
But all this time, it's not about the children. You're fighting the system, but not.
I'm fighting the layers that protect the oppression, right? So you have to go after, the court guards. He assaulted me physically, right? He blocked the public from being in the courtroom, even though they're supposed to be public. So you are essentially fighting to get an access for the public to see the judge that does it all to you and your children, right? So they have multiple layers, layer after layer, right? My which is a nuclear bomb, right? So they have the initial kernel, right? But you have layer. Right? So you need to peel it off until they make it impossible. But what I'm saying is that maybe there's a question because, I was born in Soviet Union. Then I lived in Israel for many years. Now I'm grateful to be in this country. I still feel that America is the empire, right? So, and Matthew and I, we had a show, and even though the Holocaust happened mainly in Europe, we now know more and more that it was funded, right, and supported and sponsored from America. I think the think tanks, the ideology, the scripts that we are all experiencing, they are most likely developed here, right? They are developed in the United States of America. And we are in the heart of that empire. So America plays a great role also in Americans in dismantling this global tyranny.
If the Dutch went to the United States and there was New Amsterdam and everything, and we became rich by the slave trade. That is our Dutch golden age. That's what Amsterdam is built of. That's what everything is, and we still are protecting our market and using resources in Africa just by saying we take it. Whatever it isn't yours, we just take it. It's all about keeping this control. And why do we accept that there are? They even come together in Davos. That's the people who are deciding what our lives are and how what we are allowed to do or not. We have to pay taxes for the package of the shit they sell us. So they get even more rich, and then they say it's your fault. The climate is in trouble. No, they made it like that because they wanted to earn money instead of being. We call it rentmeesterschap. You have to when you are a parent, you have to leave the world better than when you for your children. That's the goal for us humans. But there are a few, and their goal is to make that impossible for us by taking all our assets to do so. They will decide for us what is best.
Jacob is saying hello from all the way from Colorado. So again, it's like geographically we represent multiple time zones here. But I'm saying that we people who are aware, we understand what's going on, right? Different corners of the world. At some point, we need to move from description to solutions, and that's why we need collectively to brainstorm here, right? People who understand. So I think largely we understand what's going on. We see that that's global tyranny. We see that family court is just one prong of a global assault on children, on parents, right? We see it with the agenda, with the schools, with this genital/gender. I don't like the word gender. It's an invented communist word, mutilation, right? So we understand what's going on. Now, the question is, what are the next steps? And nobody here, is advocating any type of violence. Of course, we always emphasize that whoever wants to find it, they will not be able to find it. So what I'm saying is that, what we have, the uniqueness to some extent in Europe, but the uniqueness in America, that the Constitution is still very large on the public's mind. So the First Amendment, out of all the amendments, has survived, surprisingly so, because the Sixth Amendment and the Seventh Amendment jury trial did not survive. They were buried. And now we don't have any jury trials, even though it's my firm opinion. I think Matthew agrees with me that in every civil suit above $25, right, it's ridiculous. If you cannot divide the goat, you can go and get a jury trial. But if you cannot divide the child, right, then no. They call this court a different name. They name them, probate initial, then family court, whatever. And now, no, the Constitution does not apply. So we are losing the constitutional rights, but not all of them, right? And since we have the First Amendment still, and Europe is affected by that as well. That's where the solutions are. Also, if I may point out that the technological tools that we are using, right, social media, Facebook and Twitter, all of them, they are located primarily in the United States, right? To some extent, because the United States brought the brightest minds with this lure of freedom, right? And again, it's the freest country on earth still, right? So there is hope, and we are building out of the foundation that was laid out. And we're not completely successful in suppressing us all, but of course the direction is concerning.
It's about being human again and making the children and their future most important, and not and if you and we are constantly distracted by all those opinions and visions. And a farmer in the Middle Ages had in his whole life as many impressions to process as we have to process in a day, and he only reached the age of 30, and we reached the age of 70. So we get so much information, we are not able to focus on what's the most important thing, our mission, to make this world a better one for our children. And the following generations they don't have as much options. There are many more children autistic and whatever, and it's all goes to the same direction. We are just like animals, and it doesn't interest them that this chemicals they use in the farming are causing Parkinson, Alzheimer, whatever. But then we have to pay for research for Alzheimer. So we pay Bill Gates again, because the Roundup is also from him. So he makes us ill, and then we have to pay the research to find the cure for the shit he's throwing at us. And the European Union decided we can do it 10 more years.
Yeah, that's always the case.
What's going on?
Yeah, I want to acknowledge the audience, because we would be nowhere without the audience.
Yeah,
James Kelly tuned in. James Kelly is a local, national hero, I think. We had I put the banner that I have still prepared here. If you saw the show, James Kelly was briefly, almost 2 days, briefly jailed and thanks to social media exposure, it was out instead of 30 days. He's saying corruption exists everywhere to capture more money. All money is fiat currency, devaluing to zero over time. Rights are devalued in proportion to its devaluation. Yeah, I think everybody would agree with that. John is fighting from Texas. There you can go to the links, find the information. Justice J is joining from the flyover country, right? If I believe so. She's saying, I love the Constitution, love the laws. I wish they were followed. That's true. Mike was saying, yeah, hello and peace be with you, Fathers' Rights Movement. It's not only fathers, but we know that fathers are now targeted. Once they go through the fathers, they get to women and children and they do whatever they want. Oh, she said I'm in Louisiana swamps. Yeah, it's a swamp everywhere. I think we established that. You know, yeah, so we have great participation here.
That's what the pigs like, to be in the swamp, and they want to get us over there to play with them. We don't. We when we started to shoot high, then the effects came. Don't. I know when I go to court, the ruling is fixed before I even get in courtroom. I know. So why should I put effort in making that change? Because the system is building since the United Declaration of Human Rights. They made a system in the Netherlands and everywhere else, but in the Netherlands they took, since the ink dried, 2 million children in a country now with a population of 70 million. So this explains so much about violence, and because there's an attachment problem. And then you come to Warren Farrell, the boy crisis, and then children always. My kid also. They are all women, just chatting about what all is possible, but they don't look at the facts, because that's not in their system. They have another system of thinking. That's why both parents are important. That's why that's the right of the child, to be connected with both parents with equal possibilities.
Mm-hmm.
And if you take that from them, their development will be not as healthy as it should be, because they miss half of their identity.
Yeah. Listen, so we don't want to make the show too long. We can always reconvene, right? Because I know it's also late on your side of the pond, right? What's the time now? It's like 1 a.m. already. Yeah. But yeah, because we need to watch it afterward. Matthew, anything that you want to add, and of course, Thijs, if you have any words for the American audience, primarily here.
Well, I just wanted to say that it was a pleasure meeting you in the first place. And some of the similarities, when you mentioning Animal Farm and George Orwell, I took some notes here, mentioning the Matrix. These are things, words that come up when I talk to people about the family court all day long, how you know you're going to lose when you go to court. Like, there should never be a court system. And it's not just, subjectively me being down, or you're going to lose, because courts shouldn't exist like that. The fact that they have these set of laws that want to connect children, and judges are should be ethical, but in real practice none of this stuff ever happens. They preach one thing and they completely do another. The fact that you mentioned about how they give you false hope, how they provoke people, it's exactly the same. This is a playbook. And I really believe that part of the way they divide and conquer is they don't want everybody to realize it's a playbook. It's a game plan. They do the same business model everywhere. They provoke people, give them false hope. They try to make you angry. They preach one thing, they do another. It's not a court of law. It's theater. I heard you say that, and I said that earlier the other day too. It's theater, very literally, and we're just actors that are just going through the motions because they're really not deciding law in a meaningful way. They're just, it's a theater. So that's my thought.
Is there anything specific that you want to tell Americans, given your European experience? And it's very important. I think it's first ever show that somebody in this, global fight against global tyranny comes from Netherlands and joins, two American fathers. Any message from?
Yeah, we have to connect, and we have to work together because when I went to the criminal court, there were pictures of the accused.
The International Criminal Court, I mean, yeah.
And all those accused were blacks from Africa. And how is it possible? Yeah, now they have Putin. They did a arrest warrant on him. But all our leaders should be prosecuted because of their not acting on this universal genocide. And we have to to come together to do so. That's what that's our goal. We owe that our children.
Yes.
Yeah, and men and women, that's Justice J is reminding us that
We are humans. We are humans, and it's about the children and not about our gender or our color or our religion or our whatever, because that's only there to divide us. All those markers are red flags to be used. Don't let you fool you by those people who try to make you scared of others. Be a human. We are all going to the toilet, and we all have children we care for.
Excellent. Okay, I think that's a good point to jump off. Thanks, thanks everyone. Thanks everybody for watching. Thanks for the comments and participation. Again, thank you, Thijs, for your time, the late time from Europe. It's amazing to have a guest from another country confirming everything that we know now that people see you and they can relate. Matthew, thank you very much for your time. Thanks everyone. We share.
And good and stay strong. Keep going all. Yeah.
Yes.
Great.
Bedan.
Thanks everybody. We'll end the stream here and see you in the next one. Thank you.
Thank you.